We're going to dive right into the next session here. Up next, we're going to hear from David Orrick, VP of Sales for Better Culture. And Better Culture is on a mission to make the world a better place to work by designing products that help organizations build and protect their culture. So please give a warm welcome and expand our circle of compassion for David Orrick.
Thanks, Graham. I'm just going to share my PowerPoint here. All right. Can you see that okay?
Yes, we can.
All right, great. Well, thanks so much, Graham. Thanks, Jay. It's great to be here with you both today. Nice to kind of follow up that overview of what is a very important movement you all started here. So I'm excited to be a small part of it. I will try to keep it at 10 minutes here. I just set my timer, so I'll kind of hop into things as well. So yeah, as Graham mentioned, I'm David Orrick. I'm the head of sales for Better Culture. We are on a mission to make the world a better place to work, which we're very fired up about. I'm going to share with you some insights about how we're trying to take on that very ambitious goal today. Want to also give you a few tips that you can take into your organization or into your role. And then I want to close with sharing one real big idea for how we think we can actually convert this from just something you put down on a piece of paper to something that we think we can actually help deliver on. So first, I want to give a little bit about our story as an organization. So Better Culture's story actually started in the early 90s at a separate organization called QLI. It's also an Omaha-based organization. It's a world-class brain and spinal cord rehabilitation facility here in Omaha. One of our co-founders, Dr. Kim Hogeveen, was also the founder and CEO for 23 years of QLI. And the reason I give that background is that it has become a place where people send their family members who've been affected by significant brain and spinal cord injury from across the nation because of how excellent it is on the clinical side. What it also is it's an exceptional place for customer service. It's an exceptional place for low staff turnover, about a third of the industry average. And what underlies all of that is the fact that it has an exceptional culture. QLI was recognized 5 times as the #1 best place to work here in Omaha. And so what was behind that, again, was Kim's leadership and his commitment from the very first day that culture was going to be their focus. And in that, he's a unique leader in the space of culture in that he's a psychologist in terms of his background, but one who also understands the practical challenges that CEOs and executives face. So about 10 years ago, Kim stepped out of his role at QLI, and he was started to get approached by businesses, leaders, CEOs across the city and across the region who were interested in saying, okay, QLI has this exceptional culture. How can we potentially bring that into our business? And this led to a high-end leadership training and consulting firm called Mindset that helps organizations recruit, build, attract, and retain talent. We do that through assessment and through other supports that we provide to organizations, leadership training, consulting, et cetera. So Mindset has been around the last 10 years and continues to have a big impact locally on organizational cultures. But shortly before COVID, but certainly accelerated by COVID, there was this thought of, okay, we're doing all this work with companies in Omaha and surrounding areas. To what extent could what we're doing be more on demand? So how could we provide more on-demand video training to help organizations really move the needle on their culture? And that is what led to Better Culture. Better Culture is a new brand, just launched in 2020. Again, digital first, we're providing our proven content and process for improving culture into more of a scalable business. So again, this is where our big mission comes from, and I'm going to try to make the case today for why this is an important mission. Again, share some insights that you can apply to your work, and then one big idea for how we think we can really make an impact. So that's my agenda. Why culture? What are the challenges, and sort of what's ahead? I will say, I just want to pause here and say that a lot of, to kind of think about who's viewing, and so much this conference has been about, there's been culture mentioned several times, even in the opening remarks, I remember it being mentioned so many times. So I don't think I'm convincing you on the why side, but I do think that there's the challenge that often people say people are our #1 asset and, kind of buzzy terms like that. But how do you actually deliver on that is a real challenge for a lot of organizations. So I want to try to give you a little bit more tooth around why culture can be so impactful. So first, I'm going to start with just kind of a general slide. I think this is, again, something I probably don't have to convince many people on this video about, but possibly. Whether or not you have a strong culture affects your financial results, affects employee turnover, and it's going to ultimately affect what your customers experience with your business. And so this is something that, again, it's sort of somewhat understood, but it's worth starting with the point that, or with the fact that we're not just doing this altruistically. We really believe that your bottom line of your business hinges on the quality of your culture. But to try to bring a little bit more tooth to that, Better Culture's developed what we call our leadership loop. And this comes from 20 years helping build this truly exceptional company culture at QLI. And then the last 10 years trying to transfer that approach to organizations that have a desire to improve their culture. This leadership loop is interesting from a couple standpoints. First off, there's one bubble that's missing, and that is that at the end, if you start with business success and work backwards, all of these things that lead to business success hinge on having a healthy organizational culture. And I would go even a step further to say, you can't have a healthy culture if you don't have leaders that prioritize culture. And so all of our work revolves around trying to help leaders have a better lens through which they can view what are the steps that I can take to really truly build a place that can help attract, motivate, retain the best talent in my industry. One other thing I'll call out on this one, the raving fans one to me is really interesting. I think a lot of times when you think of raving fans, you think, oh, well, they had such a great product that everyone talks about it. But in order to, even if it is a great product, that's really your differentiating point, oftentimes it's the quality of staff who focused relentlessly on making that a quality product that really sets it apart. And oftentimes it's also the support that goes along with the product, regardless of how good a product actually is. So want to touch on some of the challenges that we commonly hear. And these are just a few of them, not to be comprehensive, but in terms of building urgency within organizations, a lot of people can nod their head about the slide about data, but it's hard to actually take action. Having a clear vision and clear action steps you can take. For everyone on the call, I won't be able to take on all those individually, but one really good starting point for any organization is to clearly to be a leader in your organization. I'm going to pause for just a moment so you can take these in. These are our 7 principles of leadership, and these were what were underlying QLI's success in terms of its culture, and it's the centerpiece of what we support other organizations to accomplish within their organizational cultures. So I just want to challenge you on this slide. If I were to go around your organization and ask, what does it mean to be a leader around here? To what extent would I get really clear answers that cut to the core of how significantly impactful it would be if you had an organization where leaders protect the right of good staff to work with other good staff? And I'm just picking one as an example. So our 7 principles are pretty powerful. But what we really think is powerful as we're looking ahead as an organization is how we can actually support organizations to adopt those principles. And I'm going to throw one big idea at you today. I'm just going to scratch the surface. We're actually doing a webinar about this on May 27th. Would love to have anyone join. It's free. So, and you're actually going to hear directly from Dr. H himself. So he'll do a much more justice than I can, but I'll try to take a stab at kind of piquing your interest in these. So the idea of a chief culture officer is something that a lot of organizations have already taken on, but this is our real path to purpose as an organization. We believe that the chief culture officer role has the potential to be world-changing. Having a single person who truly owns and is responsible for culture in an organization is the single trait that our top-performing clients have adopted over the years. Now, chief culture officer does not necessarily mean in title. It can potentially be in title, but it doesn't have to be, and it doesn't necessarily mean adding a new role. But it does mean that you simply have to have someone who owns culture. And the way I will try to connect that back, if you go into most organizations and say, who owns finances around here? Who owns technology? Who owns sales? For every one of those roles, you have someone who owns it. If your organization is going to get serious about prioritizing culture, having someone who is the person you can answer that question to about culture is a really critical first step. But it's insufficient. We have learned that there are also 4 keys to setting chief culture officers up to be successful. And those are that they need to have knowledge, tools, support. And the 4th is that they need to have power within the system. All 4 of those things, there's a lot of nuance to them. Again, I won't get into those in depth. That's actually the topic of the webinar on May 27th. But reach out to me as well if you'd like to learn more about that. We feel like there's this real opportunity through this role, and those are the 4 keys to it. Last couple points here. We have learned that getting CEO buy-in about the chief culture officer is something that we can uniquely support someone to take on. So if you're passionate about culture and just want help building buy-in within your organization, let us know. We think our real challenge on this is that the word chief culture officer has the potential to be a fad before it was ever really well implemented. And so we're on a race against time to say there's a way to do this and to do it in a way that does it justice and allows it to be the world-changing role that we think it can be in so many organizations. So I'm going to close with that. I have a image there of our webinar coming up on the 27th. Again, Kim will be leading that, and you can see my email and our website right alongside. So thanks for your time today. Great conference. I'm honored to be a part of it.
Thank you so much, David. We really appreciate you being here and presenting, and it's exciting to get to hear about all the work that you're doing from, and getting the history from QLI to mindset to better culture now. And so thank you for continuing to make and prioritize culture within the workplace. And we are excited about that big idea and finding a way to continue to help support and pursue that journey together. So thank you.
Thanks, Graham.